No, you might have to take over the podcast.
Oh.
You were bringing the analogy. It was great. It was
I know
great.
You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
We're back. Another episode on the Digging In podcast here with Joe Mateja. Today we're going to be talking about legacy.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I came in kind of hot on that opening.
You came in really hot. It's just a testament to how excited you are to be doing this, right?
Yeah, to have you here as a guest.
John, you've got more energy than the sun. And I appreciate that about
but
you.
But also it's like 80 degrees in here. So
it's warm.
We're trying to just kind of rock and roll here. But legacy.
Yeah.
So legacy comes to, values, commitments, assets. What does legacy mean to you, Joe?
So I think first I should state that legacy is probably something different for everybody.
Okay.
Right. And I think that most folks, when they hear the word legacy, they think, leaving money behind.
Okay.
Right. I want to leave this legacy of financial assets or property, whatever that is, but it's usually a tangible, taste it, touch it, feel it to their kids, most commonly, family, relatives, or even a charity, right?
Okay.
That's legacy. But I think legacy is more than that, John. I think legacy is what you leave behind in someone's words when they talk about you after you're gone. That's your legacy. And for me, I think more so now as I'm getting older, John, I'm thinking about that, right? I want to, I think about what would my girls say about me and who I was. How would they remember me and the times that we had, maybe the lessons that I taught them, the values that I instilled in them while I'm here.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think legacy is more than just money.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think the money that we have along the way allows us to build that legacy that we want.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's interesting. I mean, it's ultimately how do you want to be remembered, but also like maybe just, leaving a pile of money to your kids to, buy a Ferrari with or something. Or...
Well, yeah. You know what though? Yeah, I think here's a real world example,
Okay.
right? So I've started volunteering with my 8-year-old, right? We started, donating money,
kidding.
right, to
Okay.
causes and doing some things. And what I'm getting at is it's the money that allows me to teach that life value,
Wow.
right, in her,
Okay.
to instill that value.
Yeah.
Right. I'm very blessed and fortunate to be able to do some of those things and still pay the gas bill.
Yeah.
Right. I use that analogy a lot, John.
Yeah.
But, I think that's where they kind of, they tie into each other. What we do with the resources we have, however many or few that we have, what we do with those resources is what allows us to really leave the legacy that we want.
Huh. That's really cool. I mean, I am getting a little bit older, but I still feel pretty young to where, when I think about legacy, I've never really thought about legacy if I'm being quite transparent. But the way that you framed it just now does make me think about it a little bit differently in a different lens. Let's get to some questions.
Yeah.
When it comes to legacy, what happens when families don't talk?
I think when families don't talk, it just creates, from what I've seen, John, and I've been doing this just over 15 years now.
Wow. You are getting old.
I am. Jerk. I'm kidding. John's great.
Yeah.
So, what I've seen from a lack of communication, I think most often, especially, I'm thinking specifically here, when we've got multiple adult children that have financial resources left behind to them. What I see often is no matter how much or little is left behind, I see conflict from a lack of clarity.
Right. Lack of communication.
Lack of communication.
Okay.
Mom would have wanted this. And then another sibling says, nope, mom might have wanted that, but dad would have wanted this.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You throw a business in the mix, and then especially if there's a business, or substantial, maybe farm ground, whatever the case may be. Again, however big or small it is, I often see conflict result.
So I think the lesson there, the takeaway there is like have those conversations, even though they're going to be uncomfortable, which I think a lot of it stems from the uncomfortability of having those conversations, sharing those details with your family. But even if it's not necessarily sharing those details, provide that clarity for when and if something does happen.
This reminds me of a quote, John, and I think there's a lot of truth to it, and that is, tough conversations or hard questions often lead to simple solutions.
Dang, you're
I'm on it today.
You are
I'm
on it.
point.
You are on it. Okay, I like that. So how can whether it's parents, right? How can maybe even siblings, like how do you have those talks early? Like how do you approach that?
I think it's a rip the Band-Aid off scenario for a lot of folks. I really do,
I get
right?
that.
I think there's no beating around the bush with it. Maybe it's a family dinner. Just have the kids over for family dinner.
Yeah.
And have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. It's ripping the Band-Aid off,
Just
John,
do it.
and just addressing it. And that doesn't always mean that we need to share, decimal places with folks,
Yeah.
right? I don't necessarily need to tell my kids that they're going to inherit $72 billion. They're not. But I can still share with them, my wishes, desires, what I like to see happen when the time comes.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I just had an example a couple weeks ago. A couple, right? They own several different businesses. They've done very well for themselves, and their kids are all, they have 3 kids doing well too. And they were just like, we really want to have some type of conversation with our kids, but we don't want to share those details. We don't want the values. We don't want them to wait for us to die.
Yeah.
And so really we all had a conversation and they were like, can you just kind of simplify and visualize how the assets will transfer? And I was like, absolutely. And it was a really pleasant conversation. And I think they just walked away with a lot of clarity, not only from the kids' perspective, but the parents felt comfortable.
This just came to me, John. I often have an action item that I give to folks, to my clients for that matter, especially when there's more than one account, which I think everybody has more than one account.
Right.
You have at least a checking account and a car. There's a title, right? Or something.
Yep.
So when there's more than one asset involved, whether it's a financial account or property or a business, taking some time, even if it's just a handwritten piece of paper with an itemized list, BMO Harris Bank checking, JP Morgan Chase savings, Rooted Wealth Advisors traditional IRA, going on down the list with maybe phone numbers and account numbers in a fire safe.
It's a good takeaway.
And then the conversation can be really easy. It could be something as simple as sitting down with your kids and saying, hey, I just want to make sure that if I pass away or when the time comes, you go into my closet or you go into the panic room in my $17 million house if you're John.
I wish.
Wherever it is, that they know where it's at and what's on it.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing you do.
It's a good action item.
And it's not difficult.
No, not at all.
That's a very
Takes 5 minutes.
easy task.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're you.
Yeah. That's why you show up differently, Joe. Way to do everything with intention. I like that. So let's have a takeaway from this episode. What's one conversation that everyone should have this year? What's the action item coming away from this that everyone can take this year right now?
I think I've got 2.
Okay.
Not just one. Well, it's the same action item, but different depending on the situation. So
Okay.
if we have a significant other,
Okay.
have a conversation with that significant other. Make sure you're both on the same page.
Like that.
What you want to see happen.
Okay.
If you don't have a significant other, you got to sit down with yourself, right?
Okay.
Well, and think about it.
Okay.
Right? Put some thought behind what do you want to see happen. That's step 1. But then step 2, I think this is the second step, right? Is to write it down and have the conversation with the folks that need to know.
That are close to you.
Rip the Band-Aid off, John. That's my action item.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't think there's any sugarcoating it.
Have the conversation, whether it's your significant other spouse or yourself, if you're like me, who doesn't have one, and then write it down. Communicate that to those that you're close with. Love it. Thank you, Joe, for talking legacy. I thought that was really good. A lot of unpacking there that I wasn't necessarily expecting. And I really like the specific examples, the specific takeaways that, people can get from this episode. Anything else you want to share, Joe?
I just appreciate you having me, John. It's been a minute.
It has been a while. So, man, appreciate you taking the time. If those are conversations that you feel are better served with maybe myself, Joe, any of the advisor on our team, or even if you just have questions about your financial situation, give us a call, 866-766-8332. And as always, we'll dig in soon.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
That you can clip. That's a good one. Thanks, man. Those were great, my man.
Do you have any more?
No, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.